It's one of the most confusing situations a man can find himself in. You meet a woman, there's undeniable chemistry, you can feel the connection, maybe even catch her giving you those subtle looks that say she's interested. But then, silence. No text, no call, nothing. You're left wondering how someone who clearly showed signs of attraction could suddenly act like you don't exist. This isn't just a modern dating mystery, it's female psychology at work, and understanding it changes everything. See, when a woman likes you but doesn't reach out, it's rarely because she doesn't care. In most cases, it's because she's fighting against her own emotions. Women are taught not to chase, not to appear desperate, and to let the man lead. So even if she's thinking about you, replaying your conversations in her head, she'll often choose silence over vulnerability. It's a defense mechanism, one that protects her ego and preserves her sense of control. But here's where most men get it wrong. They take that silence personally. They assume she lost interest, or that they did something wrong. In reality, her silence is often her way of testing emotional stability. She's observing whether you'll panic, chase, or fall apart when she pulls back. And that single reaction tells her more about you than any text ever could. So in this video, we're going to break down the hidden reasons behind why a woman who genuinely likes you might never contact you first. We'll go deep into what's happening in her mind, what emotional signals you might have missed, and how you can respond in a way that earns her respect, not just her attention. By the end, you'll understand that silence doesn't always mean disinterest. Sometimes it's the loudest message she could possibly send.
1. She's emotionally invested but afraid of rejection. When a woman really likes a man, the last thing she wants is to feel unwanted by him. It's not just about pride, it's about emotional safety. Women attach deeply, often faster than they intend to, and that attachment can make them incredibly cautious. So when she chooses not to contact you, it's rarely because she doesn't want to. More often, it's because she's scared of how much she does. See, most men think women are naturally confident in love. They assume if she's beautiful, social, or gets attention from other guys, she must be fearless when it comes to showing interest. But that's far from the truth. A woman who truly likes you becomes vulnerable. She starts overthinking. What if he doesn't feel the same? What if I'm just imagining the connection? What if I text him and he ignores me? These questions don't come from logic, they come from emotion. And for many women, that emotional uncertainty feels unbearable. So instead of reaching out, she retreats into silence. It's a form of self-protection, a way of staying in control of her feelings when she's secretly afraid of losing that control. By not contacting you, she convinces herself she's staying strong. She tells herself, if he wants me, he'll come to me. But behind that mindset is often fear. The fear of rejection, of being too available, of caring more than you do. And here's where many men misinterpret things. They assume her silence means disinterest, so they pull back too. Suddenly, both people are waiting for the other to make a move, and the connection dies in the quiet space between them. But what most men don't realize is that her silence is actually an emotional mirror. She's feeling exactly what you might be feeling. She's just better at hiding it. This is why emotional control matters so much in a man. When you're calm, patient, and grounded, you give her a sense of safety without even saying a word. Women are drawn to men who don't react out of insecurity. When you don't chase her silence, she feels that you're different, that you won't crumble under uncertainty, and that alone starts to build trust and attraction in her mind. In reality, her fear of rejection doesn't mean she's not interested. It means you've already touched something deeper in her, something that scares her because it feels real. The best thing you can do is not take her silence personally. Instead, understand that it's part of her emotional process. When she senses you're secure and unaffected, it gives her permission to relax and open up on her own terms. So, the next time she doesn't call or text, don't assume the worst. Sometimes that silence isn't a rejection. It's a quiet confession that she feels more than she can handle. 2. She's following the "don't chase a man" rule. One of the most misunderstood parts of female psychology is the belief that women are naturally distant or hard to get. But in reality, most women don't act that way because it's their nature. They act that way because they've been taught to. From a young age, women hear the same message repeated over and over. Don't chase a man. If he really wants you, he'll come after you. Never make the first move. So even when she genuinely likes you, like even when she's replaying your conversations in her head or checking your social media hoping you'll notice her, she'll still hold herself back. Not because she doesn't care, but because she's following a rule that's been drilled into her mind. This rule tells her that showing too much interest will make her lose her value. That if she contacts you first, she's giving away her power. And here's what makes it complicated. For many women, that mindset is reinforced by experience. They've probably reached out to a man before, only to be ignored, rejected, or taken for granted. So now they've learned that the safest way to protect their emotions is to appear detached. They believe their silence keeps them mysterious, that it keeps you chasing. But this "don't chase a man" rule often backfires, because while she's busy protecting her pride, she also loses connection with men who genuinely like her. You might think she's cold or disinterested, when in fact she's doing what she believes will make you like her more. She's trying to maintain her feminine energy, thinking that's what will keep your attention, not realizing that too much distance kills momentum. Now, this is where most men make a critical mistake. They either take her silence personally and give up completely, or they overreact and start chasing to get validation. Both responses push her away. What actually works is balance, staying composed, showing controlled interest, and leading without losing your calm. When you understand this dynamic, you stop seeing her behavior as rejection. You start seeing it for what it is: programming. She's simply following what she believes works. The key is to break that cycle not through words, but through consistent masculine energy. When you're steady and confident, she feels safe enough to drop the act. She realizes she doesn't have to play games because your energy already gives her clarity. So when she doesn't text or call, don't chase her or question her silence. Understand that in her mind, she's doing what she's supposed to do. What you need to do is show through your calm presence that connection doesn't need to be a battle of pride. That's how you separate yourself from every man she's dealt with before. Not by chasing her, but by making her realize she doesn't need to keep pretending not to care. 3. She wants to see if you'll lead. Let's picture something real for a moment. You meet a woman, maybe through friends, maybe on social media, or maybe it's that woman at your gym who's been making subtle eye contact for weeks. The conversation flows easily. She's laughing. She's clearly into it. You exchange numbers, maybe go out once or twice, and everything seems effortless. Then suddenly she goes quiet. Days pass, no text, no call. You start wondering if you said something wrong or if her interest faded. But what's really happening here might surprise you. She's waiting to see if you'll take the lead. Many women won't reach out first, not because they don't want to talk, but because they're observing your energy. They want to know if you're a man who can create direction and take initiative, or if you'll sit back and wait for her to do it. In her mind, this isn't just about who sends the first text. It's about what kind of man you are. Leadership in relationships isn't about control, but it's about providing emotional structure. And women subconsciously test for it, especially when they're genuinely attracted. In that silence, she's reading everything. She's watching how you handle uncertainty. Do you rush to text her several times a day, hoping to get a response? Do you start acting cold or distant to protect your ego? Or do you stay grounded, consistent, and calm? The same way you were when things were going smoothly? That's what she's really measuring. Most men fail this test without realizing it. They assume she's lost interest and start chasing validation, or they mirror her silence as a power move. But both reactions come from insecurity, and women can feel that instantly. What actually makes you stand out is steadiness. When you lead with calm confidence, whether through your energy, your communication, or your consistency, she begins to feel safe around you. She realizes that your attraction isn't conditional or reactive, it's deliberate. Leadership in this context isn't about always texting first or planning everything. It's about showing her that you're not afraid to guide the connection. If you sense she's pulling back, You stay composed and give her space without resentment. If you want to see her again, you reach out with confidence and intention, not neediness. That kind of energy tells her you're a man who knows what he wants and isn't afraid to act on it. So when she doesn't contact you, don't see it as rejection. See it as an invitation to lead. Her silence might not be a wall, it's a mirror reflecting what she needs to feel secure. If you can handle that space with emotional maturity, you'll notice something subtle happen. She starts following your lead, and that's when real attraction begins to deepen. Not through games, but through your quiet confidence. 4. She's protecting her ego and emotional safety. One of the most overlooked truths about female psychology is that attraction and fear often exist together. When a woman really likes you, she doesn't just feel drawn to you, she feels exposed. You've triggered something deeper in her, something she can't easily control. And when that happens, her natural instinct isn't always to move closer. Sometimes it's to protect herself from potential pain. Every woman has an emotional history, heartbreaks, disappointments, or times when she cared more than the man did. Those experiences leave emotional fingerprints, so even if she's completely drawn to you, she's aware of what happens if she gets too invested too soon. She remembers what it felt like to open up, only to be left wondering what went wrong. That memory becomes her guard. So instead of reaching out, she keeps her distance. She tells herself she's just being cautious, that she's not going to fall too fast this time. But underneath that logic is fear. Fear of giving someone the power to hurt her again. Her silence becomes her armor. It's how she maintains control over her emotions when she secretly feels vulnerable. Think of it this way. A woman who's emotionally guarded isn't necessarily cold. She's careful. When she doesn't contact you, it's not always a sign that she's disinterested. It's often a sign that she feels something strong enough to make her nervous. The more she likes you, the more she fears rejection. It's easier for her ego to stay quiet than to risk reaching out and being met with silence. This is why your response matters so much. If you start chasing her or demanding answers, she feels pressure. And that pressure triggers her defense mechanisms even more. But if you remain calm and steady, you disarm her fears without saying a word. She starts to sense that you're emotionally safe, that you won't manipulate her vulnerability or use it against her. That's when the walls begin to lower naturally. Men often think attraction is built through charm, appearance, or words. But for women, true attraction is built through emotional security. It's about how she feels when she's around you. Does she feel anxious or does she feel safe? When you show that you can respect her silence and still stay grounded, you communicate strength without control, patience without weakness. That's what makes her open up. So when she doesn't reach out, don't let your ego take it personally. Understand that she's protecting hers. Give her time to feel safe again, and your consistency will do more than any text ever could. The man who understands this, who can stay calm when she's distant, becomes the one she eventually trusts enough to come back to. 5. She's waiting to see your reaction to her distance. When a woman pulls away or goes quiet, it often isn't random. Many times she's observing, studying your reaction to the distance. This isn't about playing games, it's about emotional awareness. Women naturally pay attention to how men handle uncertainty and pressure. When she stops contacting you, she's not just seeing if you'll react. She's seeing how you'll react. Here's what most men get wrong. They assume her silence is a problem to fix. So they rush in to solve it, double texting, calling, asking what's wrong, or trying to convince her of their worth. But to her, that kind of reaction reveals something deeper, emotional instability. It tells her that your confidence depends on her attention. And when a woman senses that, her attraction instantly drops. What she actually wants to see is composure. She wants to see that her distance doesn't throw you off balance. Because in her mind, if a little silence can shake you, then a real relationship, with conflict, emotions, and life pressure, definitely will. That's why how you handle this moment says more than any words you could text her. So how should you act? First, stay grounded. Don't chase. Don't overthink. Don't start assuming the worst. Continue living your life. Focus on your purpose, your friends, your discipline. When you do this, you communicate emotional independence. You're showing that your happiness isn't waiting for her message. Second, respond, don't react. If she reaches out again after days or weeks, meet her with calm energy. No resentment, no sarcasm, no questioning where she's been. Just engage normally, as if the distance never threw you off. That alone will tell her you're not controlled by emotion, you're guided by presence. Third, be consistent but not available 24/7. When you eventually interact again, don't suddenly make her your priority just because she reappeared. Keep your pace. Let her re-enter your world. Don't abandon yours to enter hers. That's how a man maintains respect and attraction simultaneously. And lastly, never reward emotional inconsistency. If she disappears often or plays on and off, don't reward that behavior with more attention. Communicate through your actions that your time is valuable. The moment you stop chasing approval, she starts respecting your boundaries. And that respect reignites attraction. Remember, in her silence, she's observing your strength. Not the kind that shows through aggression or indifference, but the quiet kind that says, "I'm good with or without you." That energy is magnetic because it's rare. When you can handle a woman's distance without falling apart, you separate yourself from every man she's tested before. You stop being another emotional reaction and instead become a presence she can't ignore. Because the man who doesn't flinch when she pulls away is often the one she ends up coming back to. 6. She's caught between interest and uncertainty. Sometimes her silence doesn't come from fear, pride, or a hidden test. Sometimes she's just confused. She genuinely likes you, but something inside her isn't settled. Maybe the timing feels off. Maybe her emotions are clashing with logic. Or maybe she's been hurt before and doesn't fully trust her own feelings yet. Whatever the reason, she's caught between wanting to move closer and convincing herself to pull away. Think about it. How many times have you met a woman who seemed really into you one moment, then distant the next? One day she's texting first, laughing, showing interest, and the next day it's silence or cold replies. That inconsistency can be frustrating, but it's rarely random. Women experience emotional conflict in ways men often don't see. While men are generally more linear, "I like her, I'll pursue her," women balance emotion with caution. Her heart might say, "I want him," while her mind says, "Be careful." This inner tug-of-war is especially common when she senses that what she feels for you could turn serious. A casual attraction doesn't scare her. Deep connection does. When she sees potential, she starts asking herself silent questions. Can I trust this? Is he really who he seems to be? Will he lose interest if I open up too fast? Those questions make her hesitate even when everything feels right. The best way to handle this kind of uncertainty is not by pushing for reassurance, but by being consistent. When a woman feels unsure, she pays attention to patterns. If your behavior stays calm, steady, and genuine, even when she's distant and she starts to feel safe. But if you shift your tone, get cold, or try to pressure her for clarity, her uncertainty turns into doubt. Here's something most men don't realize. When she's quiet, she's often observing the space between you. She's noticing whether you fill it with neediness or patience. She's feeling out the emotional climate. If she senses steadiness, she moves closer. If she senses tension, she withdraws. So instead of chasing her or overanalyzing every silence, keep your rhythm. Keep doing the things that make you grounded, your hobbies, your work, your goals. That balance communicates something powerful, that you're emotionally stable even when things feel unclear. Women are drawn to men who bring clarity to confusion. You don't need to convince her. You just need to be the calm she can feel. When she's caught between interest and uncertainty, your steadiness becomes her answer. Remember, she might not be ignoring you because she doesn't care. She might be taking a breath, trying to make sense of her emotions. Give her that space, but stay solid in who you are. The man who can handle uncertainty without losing composure is the one she eventually chooses, because he represents what every woman secretly craves: emotional security in a chaotic world. 7. She thinks you've already lost interest. Now, here's something a lot of men never realize. Sometimes, the reason she doesn't contact you isn't because she's playing games or lost interest. It's because she thinks you have. Women are incredibly intuitive when it comes to emotional shifts. They can sense the smallest change in tone, energy, or behavior. If you once texted her with enthusiasm but now reply dryly or less often, she notices. If you seemed invested at first but suddenly become distant, she feels it. And instead of confronting you about it, most women quietly withdraw. Not because they've stopped caring, but because they assume you have. Imagine this. You were talking to a woman. The connection was building naturally, then life got busy. Maybe you didn't text for a few days, or your responses became shorter. To you, it's nothing personal. You're just occupied. But to her, that shift triggers uncertainty. She starts thinking, he's probably moved on. I don't want to embarrass myself by chasing someone who's over it. So she does what feels safest. She goes silent. What men often miss here is that women value emotional reciprocity. When she likes you, she wants to feel that her interest is matched, not necessarily with words, but with effort and presence. When that balance breaks, she won't always fight to fix it. She'll protect her pride instead. That's why your energy matters more than your words. If your tone changes, if you stop showing genuine curiosity, or if your communication feels transactional, she starts assuming you're emotionally checked out. And once she believes that, her silence isn't rejection, it's self-defense. So how should you handle this? Simple. Show clarity through consistency. You don't need to chase her or flood her with messages. You just need to be intentional with your communication. When you reach out, do it because you want to, not because you're reacting to her distance. Speak with calm assurance, not urgency. When you do that, she begins to feel safe again. Also, understand this. Women don't need grand gestures to feel valued. They need reliability. A man who keeps his energy steady even when she's uncertain stands out immediately. It tells her you're not emotionally fragile, that you don't pull away at the first sign of space. That's what creates trust. If she's gone quiet because she assumes you've lost interest, the worst thing you can do is mirror her silence out of pride. The best thing you can do is remain composed, not chasing but not disappearing either. Maintain your rhythm. When she realizes your calmness isn't indifference but confidence, she starts to see you differently. She feels drawn back, not because you chased her, but because you showed her something rare. Emotional maturity. And that's the moment she starts to wonder if maybe she got it wrong about you all along. In the end, her silence isn't always a sign of rejection. It's often a reflection of her emotions, fears, and expectations. Understanding this changes how you move as a man. Instead of chasing or reacting, you learn to lead with calmness and clarity. That's what sets you apart. When you stay grounded while she's distant, she begins to feel something rare: safety. And in a world where most men crumble under uncertainty, the one who stays composed becomes unforgettable. Her silence might test you, but your strength in that silence is what truly wins her respect.